Hi, everybody. Welcome back again to the Barry Chronicles. I told you I would do a little bit better at keeping you updated on what's going on. And as I mentioned in the last video, this is coming very close to being totally up to date in terms of real time. So I'm not going to belabor this. I'll dive right in. This is part 6 now of uncovering the identity of my donor. And forgive me, this one feels a little less polished to me, but nevertheless, here we go. 4 hours faded from the day between the time I received her message, we'll call her Anna, and the time we were to FaceTime. As 5:30 p.m. approached, which is the time we agreed to connect, I felt physical tension in my arms and chest, like a coiled, tightly bound cluster of cables. Breathing became a conscious act. It was an exercise in intentional labor. Elapsing minutes served only to indulge this self-loathing, swallowed up in reminders that my only real preparation for this moment had been rote impulse. I just did it. And sure, I'd considered the potential for fallout again and then again, but still I fell short of grasping the breadth of the potential implications. Even so, her response was, "I'm fairly certain I know who your dad is," so perhaps my fears were overstated. I don't know. I was out of town in Jupiter, Florida for my sister-in-law's wedding, which is a 2-hour drive north of Miami. And I had about an hour to spare before the rehearsal dinner that night. I pulled on a freshly pressed button-down shirt, which at the time was embarrassingly a first since the start of COVID, and I sat down in front of the hotel room's standard issue, dark-stained wooden desk, and I propped my phone on the edge of the desk lamp. At 5:30 p.m. on the dot, I pressed the FaceTime icon associated with Anna's name on my phone. Within seconds, her face came into focus, and we shared the same deep breath, the one of those, and then a subsequent awkward smile. Here goes nothing, I thought. "Hi," she said, with a mix of warmth and knowing. I responded in kind, and with an unspoken acknowledgement that pretense would be silly, we just dove right in. Anna explained that upon reading my blog, a firestorm of validations and connected dots began to form in her mind. Suspicions that she'd held in clouded corners of her mind were illuminated by something that felt outrageous for me to type, yet felt totally plausible to her upon reading. She explained in vague terms that she'd had misgivings about her dad and his medical practice, assertions that felt critical to her, but unnecessary for me to clarify. She obviously felt something, and I wasn't going to pry any further. And if my circumstantial evidence and suspicions had resonated in her, I was just inclined to let her talk about it. "I always knew this was true," she explained. "I just didn't know it was this until I got your call and I read your blog. It makes total sense to me. I knew there was something, and now I know it's this." Having come this far, sure as I was about what she meant by this, I needed to hear her say it in her own words. "Anna," I asked, "I hate to be so literal, but are we talking about the same this? Are we saying that your dad is my biological father?" Her face softened with sincerity in her eyes that would have wrapped me in a hug if not for the distance. "Yes," she said softly. And we both let out a sigh, equal parts nerve, equal parts understanding. And yet, the most glaring question remained, despite her confident affirmations. I asked her directly, "What makes you so sure? What proof do you have?" She painted a picture of her father as a complicated figure, not just as a physician, but as a man. A simple Google search provided ample evidence of him as an accomplished doctor with an unquestioned commitment to his practice. But her brushstrokes of that picture implied someone with a willingness to achieve outcomes above all. I could have pried. I didn't. But what I understood was that she'd been made aware of enough to suspect that him using his own sperm to treat his patients wasn't beyond the realm of possibility, or even probability. Conjecture aside, the assertions of suspicious behavior soon proved moot, meaning we sat there and guessed, but I was about to get more. She was unwavering in her assertion that she would take a DNA test to confirm my long-held suspicions and her newly held suspicions. We filled the rest of the time with the type of conversation that feels familiar and comforting, like a favorite blanket. high-level summaries of her life and mine, her state in life and mine, and so on. As we clicked off, my wife, who'd been standing to the side with rapt attention, looked at me with affection in her eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked. And the truth is, I'd forgotten a long time ago to know what okay even means or feels like. I don't know what okay looks like anymore. I don't know what that feels like either, I explained, though as I watched my blue fingertips shake involuntarily, the truth was self-evident. No matter what I'd assured myself of in an act of self-assurance, my body knew otherwise. I wasn't totally okay. 4 days later, the wonderful women at DNA Angels had gotten an Ancestry.com DNA test to Anna's doorstep. And possibly, we were a vial of saliva away from another layer of truth, and perhaps the last one of major consequence. The truth, this truth, has never been closer. And at the time that I'm sharing this, which I can look over here is Friday, May 21st, we are likely expecting to receive results in the next 5 days. So I will keep you posted, and I will do a video live upon returning and receiving the results. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.